book that I wrote. It's called Ronin Karate. And at first you probably want to know in the beginning, comments on my Facebook and Instagram asking what's Ronin Karate, what are you guys about, what your style's about. So I'm going to give you some clarification and talk a little bit what our book's about and what our style is about today. So in the next 15 to 20 minutes we'll go through all this. First of all, let's talk about what Ronin Karate is. Well, our style of karate actually is KYOKUSHIN karate, the original form. And our teacher was named Master Roger Lesor, who had students, one of my teachers, Andre Colombe, and Master Paul Desmarais, who were one of his first students in Montreal, Canada, who were teaching me. So a little bit about Master Roger. He was one of the first students who went to Japan in the 1960s. He learned the KOBUDO weapons, and he met Masoyama, and he helped Masoyama to develop the KYOKUSHIN style by reading a couple of his books and helping the early days of the infrastructure, I guess, of KYOKUSHIN karate, the original form. And then he came back to Canada in 1966, became branch chief to bring back KYOKUSHIN karate. He opened up a karate school there where he had, teaching the original form of KYOKUSHIN karate for a number of years. And then in 1975, basically he decided to develop a style called samurai karate, which was KYOKUSHIN original type of karate and had the elements of the KOBUDO and other aspects that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. So him and Masoyama were still very good friends. They both died a couple of years apart, almost a year apart of each other in the 90s, 94, 93, 94. And so he had passed on. But I was very fortunate to be trained by the first generational martial art teachers in the KOBUDO and in karate, and the KYOKUSHIN style, the original form of karate. Now I mentioned the original form of karate and people know, well, what is the original form of KYOKUSHIN karate? Well, let me explain to you, for the newcomers who have just started to learn the art of KYOKUSHIN karate, which of the full contact element of it, that was there. But let me give you a little more of a depth understanding of it. In the KYOKUSHIN karate, the original form, what we used to do is we had, yes, it was full contact blows, but not to the present rules right now. Like right now, you can kick the legs, but you cannot punch the face, for example, in the tournament or in sparring. In the original form, the punch and strike to the face, legal. Body was legal, but the leg kicking, just going for the leg was not allowed. It was allowed as a fake, and then you could fake the leg and hit the body, but it wasn't allowed like a direct kick to the leg. And the reason being was that they wanted to improve the quality of the students of the martial arts skills. If a student just joins, he can barely get his leg up past his belt and he just kicks the leg, he's not developing much skill. But if a student starts to develop his leg and has to kick up above the belt, the skill gets more developed. So that's what I mean by the original form of KYOKUSHIN karate. We also had, besides the fighting, that's the fighting aspect, but they were allowed to throw the opponent to the ground. You were allowed to grab and take down the opponent to the ground. And this was all done in the kumite element of it. So there was also fighting multi-attackers part of it. So it was original form of, that was what karate was practiced in the original form. It wasn't so geared toward what it is today where it was, okay, here's a tournament and I'm getting ready for a tournament and schools are all geared for that. It wasn't that, it was about real karate. The teachers or the black belts in my school when I was going through the system in the 80s were incredible fighters in terms of fighting. I'm talking spirit. I would hear the story of a guy, one of the teachers, he drove his truck past this gang of bikers. Someone nudged his car, and normally he'd just drive away. But no, he gets out of the car and fights up all 20 people. So there were like a lot of stories like that in Master Roger's school, very tough school. And it was very realistic. The karate was always taught to be realistic. So that's what the original form of KYOKUSHIN karate was. Now, why did our name is not samurai karate after Master Roger passed away? Because our system was samurai karate, a way of the samurai, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But after he passed, we didn't really have a teacher. So Ronin means without warlord, without teacher, this and that. So we incorporated the name, yes, the discipline of the samurai, but we call ourselves Ronin. So that's a quick little history about what Ronin Kai is all about. in terms of our history. Now, in terms of what we practice, so a couple things we decided to do is that originally when martial arts was practiced, okay, you had the ability to strike, which is the KYOKUSHIN karate, the contact, which is excellent. But you also had, what if you got too close to your opponent was very close to you? What are you gonna do? Well, you had the ability to throw, and that was from judo, the basic throws from judo. So judo was always part of karate. Even my judo teacher, he taught karate and vice versa. So the judo and karate were always made together. Then there was an element of what karate was, and not just kicking and punching and tagging each other back and forth. There had to be a conclusion to the fight. You kick, punch, do this, well, what's your finish? And that was a form of takedown, bringing your opponent to the ground, whether using wrist techniques, arm techniques, sweeping, or whatever, but there was always a form of finishing. And that was always part of the karate system. Then the other part of it was, what if you have a multi-attackers, right? Because you're never going to be, the idea was that you're going to spar one, which is pretty much what the tournament is today, but the reality is you have to spar many or fight many. So that had to be, was always trained, so we always had like 2 or 3 attackers. But the problem is if all 3 jump on you, you can't throw one and punch one and kick one. Yes, you can do it if you're relatively fast, but sometimes you're in a bad position and you're not in a strong position, and you need to compensate for that. So we have a thing called redirection, which is a form of we call projection, but it means to use the counter force of your opponent to pass them by you. And there are many techniques, and they're originally from KOBUDO or Aikido, even many of these techniques, but I think the original, even the samurais, they were fighting in the field, they had to push this one away, that way, and cut this one and move this one. You couldn't grab, punch each one. It was never feasible. So a combination of all those 3 between the throws, let's say the projections and the takedowns, and the hard form of KYOKUSHIN karate completed the practitioner to have a complete style. But our master, he wanted to go one step further because he believed that the KOBUDO should be also taught. And what does KOBUDO mean? KOBUDO means basically from Okinawa they have different types of weapons. I'll show it to you. So here we have the tonfa. Okay, this one form of weapon. Okay. We call arnist or danbo, which is the sticks. We have kama. Okay, or we can have the string with the kama to create turn. We have nunchaku. Okay. And obviously, sai. And lastly, of the blue weapons, bo. Or bo. So these were all taught in some schools. They would just learn KOBUDO. They wouldn't really do the karate or this and that, and there are separate schools for that. But we, in our samurai karate, the KOBUDO was meant to be taught with the karate, and it always was. Now, we also call ourselves samurai karate, so we also introduced the element of, this is a boken, which is a wooden type of sword, but a real sword as well. And we practice with this as well. So this relates it back to the samurai. Now, when we practiced all these type of movements, we didn't just practice them to do a kata, or to do maybe just doing aerial movements back and forth with the stick or the bow. That wasn't the extent. That was part of the training, but it wasn't a complete part of the training. The real part of the training was the ability to coordinate and to do kumite. What's kumite? Kumite means fighting. Freehand fighting with the weapon, mixing the weapons, bow against sai, sai against tonfa, vice versa, mixing up different types of weapons and being able to do a multitude of kumite. Multi-attackers with the weapon, it was always part of the training. A lot of the schools today, you stop at kata, or they go even to I've seen, they go into tournaments and you see like maybe a kama kata or a bow kata, and it really becomes not really the original form, becomes more acrobatic, like a more of a circus type of thing, and that was really what the kata, the KOBUDO way was practiced. So in my book, we talk about how to teach the KOBUDO weapons and the katana in a system way that you can understand it, learn it, and develop your skill very easily. There are many books out there about it, but I found them to be a little bit like, it's very dysfunctional. Even though I had to learn it from the original teachers, and we learned this, we learned that, we learned this, and it was very fragmented and very hard. But you get it, you learn it, but it didn't complete it. But in my book here, I laid out so it comes out completely clear, as well as the projections, the throws, the takedowns, all laid out in here as well. All laid out, so there's a way to understand it. But even we want to go one step further, which seems to be a problem in a lot of dojos today, is that when a student joins the school, now each school pending, okay, for the first level, maybe do this kata, do these movements, and you do this, and you do some sparring, whatever, and each level has certain things you would do in order to get that rank. And I guess every school sort of has some sort of system that they do for that, for example, to get to the black belt level. Whatever belt levels they want to do, we have 5 levels, some have 6, some have 5, whatever. It doesn't really matter when you get to the black belt level. But then at the black belt level, there is no really program per se that is going to, for first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth dan. Sixth dan is the top level, which we consider just master. 8th and 9th and 10th were never, that's just for like, we always interpreted like age. To say my teacher taught me and then he was 6th dan, I was 6th dan, well, he would be promoted to 8th dan. It had nothing to do with the learning more information. Yes, he probably knew more about life, but it had nothing to do with terms of skill set. So we have a system from black belt to 6th dan. And we incorporate the learning to be part of the whole learning system. So you progress, you can take a student and progress it all the way. What happened was, the reason I really wrote this is that in the early 90s, when I had school, I had about 100 students, and I was trying to bring the levels up. But okay, I was teaching academy here, and I was doing this here, and then one instructor would teach this, and one instructor would teach that, and I found it was very dysfunctional, and it was very hard to organize. And then someone suggested me to write it down and make a system, lay it out. It's like our educational system. You start in kindergarten, you finish in high school. When you finish in high school, you should have a certain amount of skills, a certain amount of ability in math and English and writing and reading and all these different things. Same with the martial arts. You need to have a skill in all the different ways there too. So that's what we want to do. So we laid it out. So sometimes you went to a dojo or something, what do you need to know for black belt? What did black belts do? No one would say anything. It would be like a big mystery. The teacher would keep it to himself, and they would keep quiet about it, and no one would ever know what it is. What do you need to know? Maybe the academy fighting. It was never really like a format. So we laid it all out here, we laid it out there and for the world to see, and everyone can do it. But the problem is when we wrote it, originally in 1993, we had a problem. The problem was I was like a 22-year-old kid, and so we had no one going through the black belt systems. So after a number of years, we graduated many generations of black belts, we graduated many different people. We were able to we also wanted the style to be able to take, not just someone who's very athletic, who could just learn martial arts very quickly because he was physically fit or he could do many things. We wanted to take someone who wasn't athletic. We wanted to take like a mother, a kid, or anyone, and we wanted to join to take them through the system. And we found out that when we did do that, we have produced very good quality in terms of martial art students. We also wanted the system to be saying, okay, for example, let's say jump spinning back kick, for example. I had one guy say, he says, you wrote jump spinning back kick in your book. And he says, we don't teach that for that blue belt for our students. I said, why not? He says, well, some masters are older and they'll never be able to really do it. So we sort of just omit it. So they start omitting this, omitting that, omitting this. We omit nothing. And I told that instructor, I said, you're dead wrong. I said, you can teach the jumping spinning back kick. He goes, how can you do it? And I talked about a story about my book about this. I said, very simple. I would take the student and I would show him the footsteps of how the spinning back kick would go. I would show him videos of the spinning back kick. I would demonstrate the jump spinning back kick. I would teach him theory about jump spinning back kick. And I told that to the teacher. He said, that still means nothing. You're not teaching him anything. What do he still doesn't know. So what? He knows what it is. I go, I said that. I told you. I said, I'm going to teach him to do the jump spinning back kick. He says, impossible. So I said, watch and learn and listen. So I said, here, he brings me his student, and his student was, he was much overweight a little bit. He didn't have the physical physique to do a jump spinning back kick. So I run him through the steps, I demonstrate the movements, I show him all the steps, and then I said, I'm gonna finally make him do the movement. So what did I do? I took him into a swimming pool. That's right. I took him in the swimming pool. And there he proceeded to jump in the water and to do the motion in the water of the jump spinning back kick. Now he physically maybe could not do it in the air, but he knows the theory behind it, he knows the science behind it, and he actually physically felt it doing it in the water. And he was able to do it in the water. So then that knowledge was passed on. So it doesn't mean just because a student can't do something, you don't pass it on. You can teach it still. You can adjust it a little bit, but you should always be able to teach it. So that was one of the main things that we wanted to discuss, part of it. And the other part that's sort of missing in a lot of martial arts schools is that why did people join karate or martial arts schools back then? They joined it because they wanted to learn self-defense, how to defend themselves, right? But now schools are all about tournament and this and that. Well, that was never the original concept behind it. It was always learning how to defend themselves. Someone comes with a stick at you, a punch. Someone comes with you with a knife at you. What are the skill sets do you have to defend against a knife? What skill sets do you have when you have to have someone coming in with a stick coming to hit you? So those skills were taught always in our original form of KYOKUSHIN, right? And as well as samurai karate, Ronin karate. We always elemented that. We always taught that. And we didn't just teach it like we practice it one-on-one, but we also practice it with multi-tactic. This guy might have a stick, this guy has a knife, this guy has free hand. I got 3 attackers on me, I gotta defend myself and do it successfully. And we would practice many motions, things like that. We also were very spiritual about the breathing element about it. You know, karate is not just about, okay, kick, punch, and put on everything. It's a respect. People ask me, what does that mean? I said, well, we wear a uniform. We wear a uniform with a gi and a belt. We come in with bow, we have an opening and closing ceremony, show respect to it. Yeah, I can take anyone and teach you how to kick, punch in like maybe 4 or 5 classes, and you can probably be quite successful out there if you have to defend yourself. But we want to go deeper than that. So that's why we wear a uniform. People ask me, why are you wearing a headband? What are you, the Karate Kid or something? I said, no. If you had done karate or you still do karate today and you're in the dojo floor, you will sweat. Your gi will get drenched. It's heavy, heavy sweat. I remember we used to go to Master Paul School, the class used to finish before us, and we used to go after and the whole floor was wet. It was like a skating rink. So we had to get balance and try to dry it up. So we wear the headband, is that when I sweat, the sweat gets captured in my headband. And therefore, when I'm working out with my opponent, I do not spray my sweat on my opponent. Because many times in the early years, we didn't wear a headband, for example, and I worked on with my partner, and he would sweat, and I would sweat, and he would not do it intentionally, but if he's working hard and there's a lot of sweat, and we're doing close contact type of movements, I'm gonna get sprayed with his sweat. So it's respective to the knowledge we wear a headband. So that's people asking why you wear the headband. So that's some of the reasons we want to incorporate those things in our karate style. So it is really, well, some people say, well I can take Aikido and then I can go do karate and then I can go take a judo course over there and I can go. You could do that. I've done that. I was seeking knowledge. I've done that, you know, and I tell you what the problem is. And I found out it took me a long time to figure it out, but I'll tell you what the problem is. It is dysfunctional. It will not mesh. What you learn at this place and judo place or this place, like judo, for example, will teach you randori, throwing, you know, fighting, grab the guy and try to throw him to the ground. Or if you're on the ground, how to fight on the ground as well. It'll teach you those concepts and that, but it's not practical because in a karate situation or in a fighting situation or a kumite situation, the guy just threw a front kick, a side kick, and a punch, and he grabbed you, and you grabbed him, and you have to execute the flip. In judo, you're playing with each other back and forth, and you're grabbing the gi and you're throwing. It doesn't make sense. Even the KOBUDO situation, they rehearse it, like, which they have to because the movements are dangerous. The wrist and joints, you could get hurt, you could twist your joints and things like that. It's not, and they do it as a say, but it becomes, the problem with that is it becomes fake. It's a dance. You ever seen some of the Aikido and those type of movies? It's a dance. The guy comes here and he falls here, goes here, and it's okay. You can start with that element of learning, which is okay, and which we do too. We have to walk the students through it too, but it's not real. When a guy comes at you with a full force front kick punch and you block, and you project him through, or you apply a projection technique in a real situation, that's what the goal is, right? And if you're doing self-defense or doing kicks and punch, you're doing block, kick, punch, and you block, you can't just keep punching. You have to grab him and then sweep and take him down. And that was, if you look at some of the, that was always the case. Finish the opponent, front kick, punch, and whatever the movement is, it always came down a takedown technique, meaning taking the opponent down. So in the three concepts we have the projection, which redirects, right? Then we have taking down, which you grab the person, you lock the person, and you bring him to the ground in the locking position to finish the movement, okay? And then if he's too close, way too close, and he's in tight, you're in tight to tight, and then you use a throwing technique. Okay, and that was only part of it. So that made you complete. So you were a complete martial artist. You knew how to throw, you knew how to take down, do all these different things. That made you complete. And then you knew how to fight multi-attackers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attackers. You end up thinking all around. You end up thinking just one-on-one back and forth. Someone's behind you, someone's over here. You have to think. So it got you to get more skill in that aspect of it. So that's what we were trying to do in the Ronin Kai karate system, and I hope my book will help you. But the last part, that's the technical part I've been talking about now. Now I want to talk about, for the next minute or so, is the lifestyle of it. You can do maybe judo or MMA or whatever martial arts when you're younger. Well, you will age. You will age, physical age. I'm still practicing what I'm doing at my age, but I work at it, it's not easy. And you'll age, life pressure you'll get married, you'll have kids, you have work pressure, you might lose a job, get a job. Many things will happen to you. Physical things will happen, medical things will happen to you. Crisis will happen to you. So you need a system, some sort of a belief, some sort of system that's going to give you something to hold on to. Rolling around on the ground doing grappling techniques is not going to help you deal with life's pressure, getting out of bed, and dealing with life-to-life obstacles every day, and how to overcome them. Remember, so we drove karate because we want to be mentally strong. Okay, yes, I agree. Martial arts want to be mentally strong. But you got to teach it. Like I teach the first kata and teach other movements, I got to teach that too. I got to teach people how to process that. And how do I do that? I said, well, look, first we start with 2 steps. Which Master Roger the Sword, he taught this, and he taught to Paul, and my Master Paul taught to me, and I moved on down the generation. But the way it works is like this. First, you have to dress well. If you're physically dressed well, you'll feel well, okay? Not sloppy pants, sloppy shirt. You have to look presentable. Okay. For example, for our black belt exam, students have to show up in a suit and tie. They can't show up in just sweatshirts or stuff like that. Secondly, you have to eat well. You have to eat good food, put good food in your body. Secondly, you have to live well. Your home environment has to be well. Your bed cannot be unmade, it should be made. Your kitchen, your living room, your bedroom, all should be laid out in a nice way in terms of energy. So, and then you also have to have some sort of spirituality. The Instagram is not God. Facebook is not God. You have to find it within yourself, to find forms of meditation and live with it. Now a lot of young people are having a hard time because they all want to just chill. The word is chill. And I have a business, I deal with a lot of young people. And I tell people, you just can't just chill all the time. Karate, we don't, like yoga, for example, wants to do yoga. I need a background, I've done so much yoga. They want to just relax. But I said, karate's different. Karate's different. We live in 2 states, which I talk about in my book. We live in 2 states. We live in the aggressive state, and we live in a calm state at the same time. We do not, like for example, I could be at work on some pressure thing I'm dealing with, and it need to be a little bit aggressive at the situation that's on hand. Then I can come home and have a dinner with my wife and be very calm and relaxed. I live in 2 states at the same time, and I find balance in both. I do not need to escape to an aggressive state all the time. I do not need to escape to a relaxed state all the time. I'm in both states at the same time. And that's what creates me centered. But it's a push and pull, right? Not easy. So we always try to maintain that strength. And that gives you strength. Now people think, well, the strength is okay, I had a hard workout and I'm sweating and I feel strong. I go, that's true, you do feel strong, you feel good after. But sometimes you can do a light workout and be a more technical workout and still feel strong. So that's one thing. So now I talk about the younger generation. Younger generation are coming to karate today. And a lot of you guys, young people today, are getting tattoos, you know, a lot. I think almost everybody. Everyone wants to get a tattoo or piercing, this and that. And when I did, my day, no tattoos were allowed, ever. At the board I sit with in Japan, no tattoos allowed, nothing. And I'll tell you a little story. They asked me a little question when I was trying to be part of this board in Japan. They asked me, okay, are you married? I said, yes, I'm married. He said, do you have children? I don't have personally children, but I deal with children all the time. Kids are a very part of my life. I train them, I teach them, I guide them. You know, I'm with them all the time. So like, and they said, that's good. And then they asked me, did you ever smoke or do drugs as you're growing up? And I said, no, I never did drugs. I knew it was bad for you, never did it. So I never smoked either. And I said, okay. And they asked me, did you ever had any tattoos? And I said, well, no, I don't have any tattoos. I said that. And then I asked them, I said, you know, let me ask you a question. I said, okay, I get the other stuff. Okay, you shouldn't be doing drugs. You shouldn't, you should be part of family, society. I get all those questions. Are you working? They ask all those different type of questions. But I asked them, what about the tattoo? What's the deal with the tattoo? Like, there's so many like teachers who are much older than me, generation, have tattoos, and maybe an eagle on their arm, something like this and that. They said, yes, we know that, and then they are part of your organization as well. And he says, yes, we know that. And I said, like, so can you explain to me why is it relevant at this point? He says, let me explain something to you. He says, when you join us, you have to have been practicing for 40 years in martial arts, which I have. They also said, besides the skills and everything, they said you join martial arts to be mentally strong. When you were a kid, so I'm joining karate to become strong. Not just physically, but mentally strong, also mentally strong. So what happened? So that means if someone got a tattoo, that means something in their life broke. Something broke. They got the tattoo because they needed to feel a certain way, someone passed away, or a certain feeling of something overwhelmed them that they felt they needed to get this certain tattoo. So it means their mental strength had broken down. And I said, wow, you're right. Yeah, their mental strength did break down. That's shocking. So he says, we don't accept that. And I said, okay, I respect that. And I said, you're right. You did. If you broke it down, that you didn't have a tattoo. Now, I had one of my friends growing up. He didn't have a tattoo. His brother went to get this tattoo on his back, and whatever. And he tried to talk about, but he got the tattoo. My friend said, I'll never do that. Never do that. And I lost connection with him. I don't know, for like 20 years or something. We just went separate different ways. Reconnected. And then I saw him the other day, like he was like in some video, and he was swimming in the pool, and I saw this big tattoo in the back. I said, what? You never had all this in. What happened? Well, his father passed away, and he had a hard time with it, and he got it, whatever, and that's how he dealt with it. So that's why they were saying no tattoo. And the other reason they say is, you go to Japan, you come to Japan, which I go, there's certain bathhouses and dojos and restaurants. If you have a tattoo, they will not allow you in. They will tell you to cover it up and move back. So when people think they're getting all these different type of tattoos, they think they're showing their mental strength. You see that? It's actually to them, it shows that you've been weakened. Something is broken, and you can see it always in the eyes. That's one thing you'll learn about in my book as well. So that's some of the reasons. So I talk about like some choices. So you have to make some choices in your life, how to be strong, mentally strong. I talk about your environmental things like house and dressing, eating, all that, of course. There's also mental things too and spiritual things too to get stronger. And I talk about that all in the book here. So the book has a lot of different aspects, like an encyclopedia, lots of pictures. It's a good read, easy read. You can find the book on Amazon or any one of your book outlets that you like to shop on. That's like distributed everywhere. It's a good read. It's a good. Even if you're not doing our style of martial arts, I would say if you're doing something else that you are practicing or something, and you want to just have a different perspective, I think this gives you a great perspective of it. Some of the things I talk about, the history and things like that, you can always go to my website, roninkaikarate.com, and you can always check out our history about there, who we are and stuff, and some things I talk about. But the book is a good read. It touches bases on things that you have to deal with. And for example, I'll just throw one out there, like teachers, instructors. I'm a teacher. I have a school here in Miami, I went in New York, and I have a business as well. So my time it's split. But I always take the time to train. A lot of teachers, they get into the mode because they're running their dojo and they're trying to pay the rent and they're just trying to just survive. And so they end up just teaching. They're not practicing. So I talk about teachers, how they hit that wall and how to overcome it and how you should practice. Not just your own basics, this and that, something bigger than that to get you still motivated to time. Because teaching is one thing, training is another. So it's part of life every day. So my name is Shihan Bhinda. My book is called Ronin Karate. It's a lifestyle. That's what I tell people. It's a lifestyle. And to leave you one note on a lifestyle, I have a couple students in the past who trained with me maybe 25 years ago, a long time ago. And I'm still friends with them. They touch base with me periodically. And they tell me they go into a board meeting or something they have to do with work. Karate is still part of my life. They tell me that, I had this meeting I had to go to, and I still draw on karate as being part of my life. Even though I'm not wearing the gi or the uniform, I'm not on the dojo floor. But that still stays part of you. It never leaves you. When you join, it never leaves you. So remember that. It's not like sports, like you can play badminton. I played every single sport. If you name a sport, I probably played it, for sure. As a kid, I played all these different sports, So I said, but I played those sports, but karate and martial arts has been something much more deeper. The connection with people all over the world that I'm with, thank God, because it's a good thing with social media. I get in contact with people all over the world, which is amazing. And that's what karate is all about, connection with people. Even for different little styles, a little different there, your kata's here. It's not about technically, okay, his first kata is like this and his first kata is like that. It's nothing to do with that. It's the spirit energy connecting with it, like talking to it. It's a language. It's a language of what we communicate with. So for example, I can go to a school in, Germany, for example. And maybe I don't speak German, the dojo's German. I can go on there and do my first kata and do my kicks. We don't speak the same language, but our connection to the kata or the movements connects us. So we're all really a big family. We may have divided ourselves into different organizations. The KYOKUSHIN organization is like us, different organizations. But our organization, the Samurai Karate, the Ronin Karate, has always been around the spirit of the samurai. And that meant becoming a very hard program because you have to learn all these KOBUDO weapons. You got to be able to throw, project, throw, and do multi-attacker. And you're not stopping at black. You got a long way to go to 6th Dan to get to the top level. And so it's still challenging, but you can do it for a long period of life. We still have, my brother and I still have our students that started with us in 1992, husband and wife, and they are still practicing every week with us. So it's something you can take into age as well. We've taken all the injury stuff out of it. So that's enough talking for me about my book. I've kept you quite a bit here, but I wanted to get all this information into you. So take care, keep practicing, and keep the spirit alive. Us.